Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Economic Times Listening Sessions with me, Luke, an initiative by ET Edge. And joining me today is a super duper special guest, Mithali Raj, such an achiever. A wonderful cricket personality and a lady to beat. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's really amazing that you could join us today. And I must really start off by saying you're looking absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you. I think it has everything to do with the lockdown because we are not exposed to the sun as much. So I think I'm getting a bit of complexion there.
So I think this lockdown is becoming is starting to become more beneficial for people than, the other way. And I also seem to see that you have more books than I have.
Well, yes, I think there pretty much most of the books are of my collection. I've started reading way back. Something
Okay.
I've done on my journeys and the train journeys during my earlier cricketing days.
Who are your favorite authors?
Well, I started like anybody else. I started with a lot of crime books like Sidney Sheldon. I started with Sidney Sheldon. Then I read a lot of Jeffrey Arthur's books, and I don't have any particular author as my favorite, but I pretty much enjoy all But I think I'm more inclined, as we spoke earlier, towards fantasy. So I'm looking forward to more reading more of that genre. Yeah.
So, have you read any of the fantasy series?
Well, not in the books. I'm hunting for the Shannara Chronicles because obviously there is no more seasons coming on the Netflix. So I think I probably will continue what would happen after the season 2 through the books. I think so. I'm kind of searching for it.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing that's happening now. Is like all these fantasy books are now being turned into really, really great fantasy series as well. So people who might not have the time to read the books because there are so many books, they can actually watch the series and, for whatever it's worth. It's like the Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and Vikings and Outlander and all that stuff. So yeah, it's great fun. It's great fun. So yeah, you've had quite a journey, for somebody like you to achieve the things that you've achieved in a sport that has been, male dominated for decades. I'm really interested to talk to you about the journey. I'm sure, a lot of people have spoken to you about that. But let's go back to, when you were in school. What was the pivotal moment that made you decide that मुझे cricketer बनना है, चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए?
Honestly, I got into cricket very young, as probably 9.5 year old, and it was not something quite planned. I also didn't have any interest towards sports because I started learning Bharatanatyam much before cricket happened to me. I was probably 7 years, I think 6-7 years when I enrolled myself into learning the classical dance. As kids, I think because dad was from Air Force, he had that Air Force background. He was quite the disciplinarian at home. He would want everybody to get up early in the morning. And so me being the laziest, I think my brother, he didn't have any problem of getting up early in the morning because he was anyway into playing cricket. So he used to go early in the morning for his training at the academy. So I was the one, if the school is at 8:30, I would get up at 8 o'clock. The last one to get up at home and then get ready in a jiff and then go to the school. So he wanted to change that habit. He wanted me to be an early riser. So that is why I think he chose to take me along with him and my brother to the academy. And that's the introduction to the sport. I don't think, if not for that, I don't think I would have got into sport, leave alone cricket. So that was how I was here.
No, but then one consolation is if we had not had, if in the event that we do not have Mithali Raj the cricketer, we would have at least had Mithali Raj the Bharatanatyam dancer, right?
Maybe yes, because that is something it was pretty much my very personal interest of learning dance. That's the field that I chose to enroll myself into. Cricket is like, probably, I would say, if I have to look back, I probably was destined to play a sport, be a cricketer, because that was my destiny. That was probably my calling.
Okay, but there would have been a pivotal moment. Like ये मौका है यहाँ मैं भरतनाट्यम की तरफ जाऊं या तो क्रिकेट की तरफ जाऊं. When did that moment arrive, or did that moment arrive ever? Okay, this is the decision I have to take now. Either I become a dancer professionally or I choose sport. Uh, Traditionally, Bharatnatyam, there are very few male Bharatnatyam dancers, but there are so many male cricketers. So now you're choosing something that is completely against the norm. So what was that pivotal moment that made you decide that no matter what, this is what I'm going to do?
Yeah, so for good 4-5 years, I continued dance and cricket along with my studies. But when I was in 10th standard, I was selected for the World Cup probables, the 1997 World Cup, One Day World Cup, which was held in India. And I was in the World Cup probable. So every month we had a camp where good 20 days would go. And each time I came back, I was always catching up on the dance classes, and my group was pretty much way ahead, and I'm trying to catch up with my group. So this happened for quite some time, and there were also times when I prepare for a show. I have a particular role to play in the group, and the last minute I have a tournament to go and play. So my dad eventually would always say, like, Rona, you pick up tournament, go and play cricket. And it's very difficult when you're prepared for a role and then suddenly you back off. So even that happened few times, and that didn't go down well with the dance teacher. So she one day called my dad and she said, it is time that your daughter chooses whether she wants to be a cricketer or she wants to pursue dance. And because I was already in the probables of the World Cup for India, I think probably my dad felt that might as well give this a good try. I mean, he chose cricket for me to continue, and I let go dance. It was a little difficult choice for me, knowing that dance was something I wanted to be, and cricketer is something my dad wanted me to become. But I being this obedient daughter that I am, I went with my parents because I thought they know the best. Yeah.
And now looking back on that, what do you feel? Was that a good decision?
Well, is that something to even ask? I think so. I've come a long way, and well,
I know, but these are the times when you look back and you think like, okay, what if I had chosen one or the other? It's like a what if situation. So yeah, I'm saying fantasy wise.
Well, yeah. I did the thought. There were times when I used to muse at the fact that what if I turned down the choice of becoming a cricketer and turning into a dancer? Maybe I wouldn't be a known face, or I wouldn't earn as much what I earn today, or whatever the identity that I'm known as a cricketer. I may not have that identity. Maybe I would be a dancer. Coming from a South Indian family, I would have been married by 22, 23. By now, I would have 2 kids, and I would be probably living a very normal lifestyle, or a common man's lifestyle, which is not a bad thing, I believe. But I don't know, maybe there are a lot of experiences that have gone through as a cricketer, which has helped me to grow as a person quite early in my life. Maybe that would be something I wouldn't have experienced if I was a dancer.
Sure, and I think along the way also you evolve, and you discover qualities within yourself that you never knew you had. So along, is there any quality that you have that sometimes gets misunderstood, and that you get a bad, not a bad reputation for, but sometimes it tends to work negatively for you. So is there anything that you felt that has come about as part of this evolution?
Well, yes, I think a lot of people feel that, I'm maybe a little arrogant or a snob to not interact, as people would love me to interact. Because starting very young, being the baby of the team for different kind of teams, say whether it is a state team or it's an Indian team, if you're a baby of the team and, making a debut at 16, and you have teammates who are like 29, 30-year-olds, and you're the only 16-year-old in the team, you need to grow up. Like literally, it was something which I have to grow up quickly. I didn't have time to go through the normal teenagers would go through that phase. And eventually I've become more mature to my own age. And then, I start to interact with more people who are older to me. And even today I find it more easier to interact or more compatible with older people than people who are maybe younger to me. And that probably is why I've become more of an introvert. And I don't open up, or maybe there is a bit of hesitance in me to interact with people, and I might come across as a snob, or people might take me as an arrogant person. But this is what something which has helped me. And it also, in fact, maybe off the field it probably shows me in a more a negative light, but on the field the maturity helped me a lot in understanding my own players, the way I handle situations, because those phases have helped me to give more time to observing my own players, to understand them, how to use my resources, even if there is less resources, how do I use it. So constant thinking in those lines, and that helps me on the field. But maybe the same thing may not really help me off the field in terms of knowing people.
No, but the thing is that it helps you where it matters the most.
Yeah.
If in social gatherings people think you're snobbish or arrogant, then so be it, because it's just momentary. But at the end of the day, if that helps you be a better gauge of sportsmanship on the field, and that's who you are, and that's who you've become, then everything else doesn't really matter. So
true,
yeah, so that I think is I wouldn't consider that as anything negative by the people who think that are in such a way. So in fact, I was talking to Narayan Karthikeyan yesterday as well also, and I was told that he's quite an introvert, so it'll be difficult to get him to talk and things like that. But I think that's just a perception that generally people have, because at the end of the day, everybody can't be expected to be this happy-go-lucky. And
it has a lot to do with athletes when they go through the growing up years as athletes.
And particularly if you've started
and we are we are brought up in such a way that we always think about ourselves. We are told, you need to take care of yourself, you need to work towards this goal. So whatever you do has to be in the path towards going in towards your dreams. So in a way, we might be selfish there in that journey of looking after ourselves. That is how we are brought to. Otherwise, I don't think athletes can reach a level of the way, say, Karthikeyan has reached, or Roger Federer. If they start to give their own time in other things, then probably we will not end up where we are. At some point, are selfish, but again, that is basically because we need to save our energy and channelize into our goals, and so that we reach our goals, or so that whatever we dream of, we want to get there. And eventually that becomes a part of your character. You can't really change overnight. It's years and years of training yourself. So that's how I think most of the higher level athletes, if you see, they are very quiet, and they probably will take time to open up, but not necessarily they come across that manner.
I think a lot of misunderstanding happens between between the two terms of being self-centered and self-focused.
Yeah.
As an athlete, as a creative, or as an artist, you need to be self-focused so that your art and your creativity and your sportsmanship shows much better on the field. And if you have to maintain that when you're in the social arena as well also, then hey, that's an occupational hazard, right?
Yeah.
But through your journey, even though you've done a lot of things on your own steam, through the force of your own independent spirit, so to speak, it's never a solo journey. There are always elements that help you along the way. So what kind of people and who have they been who have helped you in your journey to reach where you are today, who have been instrumental?
I think there are a lot of people. There is a bunch of I probably can say people who can make a team, whether it is coaches. I've been coached under various coaches at different phases in my career. My parents, my brother, who's played a part in the initial phases, because as a sibling, it was I don't know, but getting so much of importance from both my parents to nurture me and get me to where I am today. At some level, probably he's not been given that much time. So somewhere, the growth of him as my brother also, probably he has gone through his own challenges and trials as a young kid and my older brother, and he's played a part because there were times when both my parents were working. He was the one who took care of me, so he has a role to play. Then there are mentors, friends, schoolmates who, when I've missed so many classes in school, they were the ones who tried to help me with homework. My mother pretty much did all my homework in her own handwriting. I've never did any homework at school. Uh, and
Fabulous.
and then school has played a role, because if not for giving me that freedom to go and play tournaments and miss out on all those classes.
We'll make sure that your teachers listen to this interview and they get to know now who's been doing your homework when you were in school.
Well, I think most of them might know, because there is one instance, even there were times when I slept in this class. In fact, the teacher did tell me that, okay, you seem to be very tired, because they knew I was training very hard. And as a young kid, you don't have that energy when you get up early in the morning and leave home at 4:30 in the morning. You train, you go and attend school and then come and train. So, at some level, the mental capacity of a young kid, you lose out on energy when you need to focus in the class. So it's very, that I just go off to sleep listening to the lecture. And then they would they would know, okay, poor girl is so tired. So they would tell me, go to the back bench and take a nap. So at least you're fresh for the coming classes. So that way the school has done their bit.
Which lectures did you fall asleep in? Tell us.
Well, see, I don't make the lecturers feel bad for the subject that they were teaching.
Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, so you're part of.
Yeah.
No, I mean you managed to make your place in a sport that has some really huge history. It's 100-year history. And there have been a lot of historical figures that have come through in the sport as well also. So if you were to go back in time and, let's say, share the field with one of the great historical cricket figures, who would it be?
See, when I started playing, I was an all-rounder, opening bowler and opening batter. So my coach back then used to show me a lot of clippings about Kapil Dev, because, 1983 World Cup, that way back in before we won in 2011, that was the only World Cup we won. And that was on a loop played in Doordarshan all the time. So they were showing me the same clips. And I would look up to him as my idol back then, before I turning into a pure batter now. So if I have to go back and, associate with a cricketer, I think it would be him, because he was, as a young cricketer, I was looking up to him. He was my idol back then. Yeah. Kapil Dev.
I think Kapil Dev sir has made a super duper tremendous mark. And of course, the dream team of '83 was something, really, really amazing to behold. I remember also I was a very small child, and I mean, I'm not much of a cricket fan, but being in India, you can't really escape the fact that it's all around you all the time. And I happened to be at home that time and I watched the match, and it was such a glorious, glorious moment. In the days of no technology, you just had Doordarshan, right?
Yes.
And that's all we had to see the match, and then to see, our Indian guys winning it, on foreign turf and the World Cup. It was really fun. And of course, now the movie is coming out, so that'll also be great to watch.
Yes.
Let's see what Ranveer Singh does as Kapil Dev. I'm sure he'll do a good job. It'll be great to see that. But yeah, once the film releases, once this lockdown is over. Seeing from your book collection behind you, we tend to collect, this is of course, I'm sure, a collection from, over the past like 10, 15 years. What's your most prized collection, your most prized book that you have, that you will not let go no matter what?
I think something which I reread many times is Paths of Glory by Jeffrey Archer. I think that is one of my favorite books because of the storyline, and because he also has written it so beautifully about the ending. You never know whether that person has actually reached the summit or not. I mean, he left it to the imagination of the reader, and he also left it to the imagination of a reader. What if he reached and he didn't make it back? So You know, in all honesty, he's the first one to actually get onto Mount Everest, but his name is nowhere in the history because he didn't return alive. So a lot of things goes into, you know, the one who's actually reading it, and how, as someone, he had a team along with him, and they show, and he's written how he had to make choices, taking everybody along with him on this journey to the summit, and there are a lot of challenges one as a leader you face, and how he managed to endure his relationship with his wife, and how he keeps writing letters. So a lot of it has inspired me, which that is one of the earliest book that I read, and I still get quite inspired by that story. That will always be one of my favorite books.
That's interesting. I must read it. I mean, I read a few Jeffrey Archer books, but Paths of Glory is one that I haven't read. I mean, I read As the Crow Flies, Quiver Full of Arrows, Not a Penny. All the early PC stuff.
It is probably true story is what I think so it is.
No, it is. It's always the speculation whether, I think the mountaineer you're talking about is Mallory.
Yeah.
We never really, because they found his body after so many years on close to the summit. So we don't know whether he was going up or he was coming down.
Yeah. So
big mystery which we'll never know as well also. So apart from books, if I would ask you, what are your 5 most prized possessions that you can never do and always hold on to for all time, other than books? What are your most 5 prized possessions?
well, I don't know. I've never really had any kind of an attachment to anything as such. Nothing.
Okay.
I don't have attachments to whether it is my bats or India caps. I think
The first bat.
yes, I mean, sorry?
Like the first bat that you scored a century with, things like that.
Well, I don't have those because as I use bats, I then give it back, give it to the needy and the ones who need bats. So again, that's exactly I'm trying to say. Even a bat which I hit my 6,000 runs, I gave it to the teammates because she asked and I just gave it. So I don't know, like people do have these things at home, like memorable thing.
Yeah, they're like artifacts that have great historical value because you created history with them.
Yeah, but I, as of now, I have my 214, my world record bat, the 214 runs which I scored, broke the world record in 2002, and so I think that is something I have. Of course, a lot of these you have these accreditation cards. Every series we get an accreditation card where you have a picture and you're out into the players arena. That is something I always collect in all my trips. So I have a bunch of it. So I was telling the other day to my mother that if not for anything, I will collect all this accreditation cards so that it will tell you that I have been to all these tournaments, all these countries.
No, absolutely. Those, and I would say, like, you don't scan them and you have a digital copy of them so that they are at least maintained as a record. So so anybody asks you, "Kya tumne kya kiya life mein?" Dekho maine ye sab kiya, something like that. Or if the world ends, you never know. You know what I'm saying? One must all these things as well. Okay. So since you're also a trained dancer, that means music is pretty much inherent in you, and rhythm and flow and things like that. So what kind of music do you like listening to? What's your favorites?
Well, honestly, I don't listen to music as much, contrary to what you just said.
How is that possible, Mithila?
I don't know. Because it is a classical dance. It's not like a Bollywood or the break dance where, you have...
classical music, I'm saying generally, because, you're trained in dance. So automatically your body is tuned to listening to rhythms and melodies and things like that. So growing up through college, through school, through while you're playing and things like that, what music has been around you? What's been your favorite music?
I listen to all those musics that people discard. Most of my teammates like, ye acha nahi hai iska na. So then I listen to that Gana only. Or there are times when on a repeat they keep playing the same number in the bus by the time we reach the ground from the hotel. So that has happened like quite some time. So then I take a liking to that song. So then I listen that for another 10-15 times and then I get used to it. Then I change another song which is being played on the bus.
So what are the last 4 or 5 songs that you listened to 10, 15 times like this?
I think most of the girls play a lot of Punjabi songs. So it's only the dole which keeps which keeps running. Otherwise, I don't think there is any other song these girls listen to on the bus. So yeah.
No, but then when you go out and if there are celebration parties and things like that, or if you go to a club or something like that and the music is playing, what kind of music do you like dancing to?
which is which is peppy and which is nice, like where you just feel like shaking your leg and all. So those kind of
Is it Bollywood music?
music, anything would.
Anything good?
I love to dance on Michael Jackson's numbers, but they are too fast. By the time I do 1 or 2 steps, he's already into the 10th step.
In fact, Michael was is the only pop star who represented Bharatanatyam dancer in one of his videos.
Yeah, I keeps watching some of his videos online, especially the moonwalk thing. The first time he ever played on the stage.
Yes. So if you see the video to Black or White, there is a sequence where he's in the middle of the road dancing, and then there is his Bharatanatyam dancer next.
Does the people don't actually understand then, but then later on, apparently, it has become a big rage that he's done that moonwalk step.
Absolutely, and Michael was there to show us how it's done. So it's great.
He was so excited. Now I try with all the training that I do. I try and do some of his steps, but we can't match to the kind of rhythm that he had.
See, that's it. That's everybody's got their own style, right?
Yeah, that is there.
No, so talking about styles, is there a style that you recognized in yourself as a playing style? I mean, your coaches obviously will get you to watch a lot of matches, and then you watch a lot of players playing styles. And since you've been an all-rounder as well, also, so there are fielding styles, there are bowling styles, and there are batting styles. So, what style would you say? What's your comfort style of playing?
Well, I'm someone.
I don't have explanation for it, but if you were to explain.
I'm not a very flamboyant types, like as soon as you get in and you play some amazing strokes, like So basically, the crowd loves that flamboyance, and some of them do have that flair in it, but I don't. I'm someone who would like take my time, but I will pull the match without you knowing that I'm getting the match closer, something like that.
So you're like the Rahul Dravid school of batting.
You can say so.
Yeah. Like be the stabilizing factor of the team. Yeah.
It's like giving confidence to the team that okay, she's there, so we still have chance of pulling the match, or we still have hopes that we can win the match. So I'm that kind of a person. There are players who don't have much of say, even if they score quick 30 runs and they get out, it doesn't put that much of an impact on the team. But there are players who get out early, then there is 2 wickets is already fallen in the dressing room. So I'm one of those, I know the responsibility I carry when I'm walking in. So that is why each time I walk in, as soon as I cross the boundary line to walk in, all my mates say, "Wahi pe rukna, Mittu, wahi pe rukna." So they always say you stay there. So it got so much into my mind. There was a time when
कुछ भी हो जाए pitch छोड़ना मत.
They would "Tu wahi pe ruk." So what I did once was I just walked 4-5 steps inside, and I heard someone say, "Wahi pe rukna Mittu, tu kar sakti hai." So I stood there, right there in the center of the ground. So I said, "Ruk gayi main, ab ye theek hai." So they are like, "Yaar, itna literal meaning mein mat le, jaake batting kar," they said. So it's like, yeah.
No, that's superb. That's super. So what's been the reaction of our current male players who've now become big names like Dhoni and Virat, and they meet you? What is their reaction to you, and what kind of words of support do they have for you?
Well, I think the interactions have become more enjoyable, I would say, because there are a lot with the social media and with the kind of facilities that we have access to, men and women together. Sometimes we have camps, so we exchange a lot of ideas. They do inquire about what is the next tournament, and if we happen to tour a place together. Like mostly there is the men's team and the women's team. Like recently New Zealand tour was where the men's played the first one day and then followed by the women's game. So when it happens in that scenario, try and exchange ideas. We would ask them, since they've already played on the wicket, so how the wicket is behaving, what kind of combination that as a captain that I should look into, whether spin dominant or a fast bowling dominant bowling department, and what kind of line and all that.
Those are technical suggestions that you probably ask. But I'm saying for you as an achiever, for all the everything that you've achieved, the awards, the laurels, the amount of runs that you've made, when you meet them and they hear about what all you've done, what is their reaction? For a woman to be such an achiever in a male-dominated game, what is a male reaction to it from people like Dhoni and Virat, who have also achieved such greatness in the game?
I think they do appreciate and acknowledge what a woman cricketer has achieved, or whether it is me or Julian Goswami, because I think we've been playing for quite some time. Like literally, I've completed 20 years of international cricket. So obviously, I'm a senior than Virat Kohli or even Dhoni for that matter. So I remember there was this award function where. I was there on the stage and they put a question to Virat Kohli. So he turned around and said, they are senior to me, so they know better. So, I mean, they do understand, they follow all this now that with the kind of coverage that women's cricket is getting, it's just not about them, but a lot of other people know in-depth profile of a player, of a woman cricketer.
Yes, of course. So have you seen a lot of interest amongst the girls of today, who want to take up sport as a profession and cricket as a profession? Are numbers growing? Are there more and more girls who want to become cricketers now?
Yes, there are. Like, the very academy where I first, held the bat, that was in my brother's academy. It was an exclusive boy. So the coach, my brother's coach, then suggested my dad that to enroll me in a girls' academy, which was run in my school. So at that point, that academy didn't have not even one girl training there. So today, the same academy I go, they have literally 60 girls round the year who come every day to train. So the numbers have increased, and there is more support from the parents also, because now the parents are fine with if the girls want to play cricket. They don't look down at the sport like, okay, the girl is playing cricket, which was quite evident in the 90s when my parents were wanting me to be a cricketer, and they had to face a lot of issues within our own family. My grandparents didn't wanted me to be a sports person, leave alone a cricketer. So from there to today, where I see in social media, they have all these young kids, maybe 6 years, 5, 6 years, who are themselves at the height of a bat. That young they are playing some very nice shots, and we have those videos on social media. It is no more only about boys. It is no more only about men. It is also about girls. It is about women. And when I go and sometimes when I'm walking down the street, it is quite heartening to see, okay, there is 1 or 2 girls in that boys team. They might be fielding. They may not still get to bat or bowl. They're at least, and that is something to see, which normally in all these years I've never seen. It is always the boys, young boys playing. But today they're 2 girls, and they're ready to accept them into the team.
Yeah, no, that's an amazing transformation actually. And then and more importantly, it's also wonderful to know that, I mean, a lot of that you made that happen.
Well, not me alone, but yes, there are a lot of cricketers back then who worked very hard. The circumstances were very challenging. They had different challenges that they had faced. And they kept the sport going to a point where today the current generation enjoys the platform that it is, where matches are televised, people recognize them in social places, in public places. There is branding, there is profiling. The sport itself has grown, and it's a standalone sport today, where the ICC conducts the World Cups based only on women's cricket. So I think the sport has come a long way, and recently the T20 World Cup, where we've seen the MCG, the Melbourne Cricket Ground, filled, packed, and you have the viewership records. It broke records of the viewership. So the sport has come a long way from when I started. There were hardly any matches. I mean, I would play one tournament the beginning of the year, and then the whole year there is nothing, and then again in the end of the year, depending on the sponsorship deals that we get to travel abroad. But now every year we get 3-4 tournaments to play because of the boards like BCCI and ICC and respective boards from other countries.
And also because I think the audiences have also grown because the sport has also evolved into a more convenient format, as opposed to being a test match where you had to sit in the stadium for like 5 days. Then you had the 1 days, which took up the whole day, and now a T20, which gets over in 90 minutes. So it's like a football game, right? So I think this kind of evolution of the sport also has led to its growth in viewership, because people don't mind sitting and watching a cricket match for 90 minutes and you know it's going to be done.
Well, not necessarily, because test match is something that even I have not played enough. Like if I have to tell that I've played say 200 ODIs in 20 years of my career in international cricket, I've only played 10 test matches compared to the 200 ODIs. This was not very much in women's cricket. The one-day format was there quite some time, and then the evolution of the T20 came in. But what changed for women's cricket is getting the matches televised, marketing the sport, which the ICC has done in 2017. Because as the men's Challengers Trophy was in England, they had this huge boardings in the stadium telling people, okay, this is the next tournament. We have the next Women's One-Day World Cup happening in England. So, people who come to watch the men's game actually get to see, okay, there is a second big tournament happening. We should be preparing. We should be watching it. And so they have generated the interest in people to turn up for the stadiums. Then they try to do marketing in social media, like say Twitter and those things. I think Twitter and Instagram happened 2-3 years back. So it was flooded with a lot of promotional events for this tournament. So it happened in a big way that the world actually sat and watched all the women matches. So I think that was the beginning, because the more you watch, the better you get to see the tournament, to see the players, to see the standard of women's cricket. And people at some point, maybe they find women's cricket quite nice, entertaining, like the copybook style of game when they actually first time saw women's cricket, compared to men's cricket where the IPL format has come, where there is like hitting everywhere all around like 360 degrees of the ground. And then suddenly you see a women's cricket where you get the classical drives, where you get those to see the good back foot drives. So it was a little different for people, and they actually loved it. And they wanted more of women's cricket to be on television.
Absolutely. It's been a refreshing change, actually, really look at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's been keeping you busy in these 2 months lockdown? What does Mithali do all day?
I train. I definitely would, because my aim is to play the 2021 World Cup. That is next year, February, in New Zealand. So, because as athletes, we are not used to, taking long breaks from our training. Training is something like fitness is something which is very constant. Whether you are in season or off season, doesn't matter. Your body needs to be trained in a particular manner. So obviously we don't have like weights or access to gymnasium. So the trainer, I'm in constant touch with my personal trainer, who, with whatever crops I can manage at home, he tried to give me a program which I try to do every day. I try to religiously follow it, so that whenever the lockdown opens, at least I'm not starting from ground zero, but at least there is a certain level of training that I've already done.
But training is just like one part of your day. What happens in the what's your day like? What's your lockdown day like?
Well, I finish training in the morning. I have then post breakfast.
Or do you wake up aram say like?
No, I get up early because it's summer season, and since my mother really doesn't allow me to shift the furniture here and there to make space to do some exercise, so I pretty much do it either in the car parking or up in the terrace. So the terrace, you need to finish it before 7:38 because the sun is really hot by then. So I get up early.
Is over, then what happens? What are the five
Uh,
things that every day that you've been doing every day outside of training during this period?
I read. Then what I do is I try to water the plants, but that is something I've never done in my life. But
Great.
I'm helping my dad. I said, you don't worry, I have plants.
No, I do that also. I have 3 or 4 plants
Sorry?
outside. I also do that. I also have 3 or 4 nice potted
Yeah. So
balconies, so I water them as well. Yes.
10 of, yeah, even if it is 10 or 15 pots. But when you see the flower bloom constantly, you've been watering it day in and day out, like good 1 month, and you see the plant grow. It is a very nice feeling. At least you've been part of that growth. So
Getting
I water the plants, and I catch up on sleep because I get up early, so I eventually go to sleep
all catch up on
after
sleep.
lunch.
चलो खाना हो
So
गया, घर का काम हो गया, अभी चलो सो जाते हैं. हाँ.
sleep in the afternoon, then I'm fresh in the evening. So there is again a session I do in the evening. I do a training session, a less intense one, and
Okay.
then night times is for Netflix.
Wow. And
Yeah.
what else? Only Netflix.
Netflix, yeah, Netflix, Apple TV, whatever, like, catch something on watch something, and yeah.
That can keep you up late nights as well also. So how do you manage to, not have late nights and then wake up early in the morning? So yeah.
Well, I think I make sure that before going to sleep, I switch off all my gadgets. I'm not like putting my to sleep watching something. I at least read and then maybe go to sleep, because it is very natural that the athletes, especially some of us, have felt the quality of sleep was not very good, because physically we are not as active as what we would be running on the ground and all. It tires you, and you go to sleep. At some level you spend your energy, but now because we're not running around, so the energy is still there, and we find difficult to sleep on time. So the physio, what she does is give us some breathing exercises, or she suggests that we don't even she suggested something that don't read while you're on bed. Keep a separate space where you sit and read. Earlier, we come back from training, we're on the bed, I read and then I go to sleep. That was the routine. But now I can't do that because I'm not spending that much my physical energy. So what I do is, even if I'm reading, I sit and read. When I'm wanting to sleep, then only I get onto the bed. So I know that the bed, so you're unconsciously telling your body when you're on bed, it's time to sleep. I think a lot of athletes are struggling with sleep and sleep quality.
Mm-hmm. Probably, I think because the whole schedule has also been completely disrupted. Routines are disrupted, and now you have all this time on your hands, and then you don't know how to utilize it. And staying true to a discipline, becomes really important as well. Also.
Yeah, there are times you don't feel like getting up in the mornings. There are days when I struggle for doing my routines, but then I have these I have a notice board where I keep things to remind me, at least the affirmations or the reminders. So I have this like 2021 World Cup. So each time I see it, no, for that I have to get up and train. So at least you have something to look forward to, like a goal, set a goal.
Absolutely, it's really important to have that. So I mean, I'm assuming that since you're now aiming for 2021 World Cup, they're also, I mean, there's also the team also that's also working towards that goal as well also. So you have a current women's team that is working towards that goal. So from are you in touch with your team members regularly? Do you guys talk a lot through
Yes,
online?
yes. I think it is important, and that's what we do since last week. We have in groups, we come on to this Zoom where physio, the trainer is there, even the coach is there. So
Okay.
they take turns to address the issues. If say like I struggled with sleep quality, so I was able to communicate to the physio, and she tried to help me. Then the trainer tries to help people. Like there are some who live in houses, so they have some scope of running, but there are some who don't, who live in apartments. How do you manage your training? So accordingly, he helps us with our training sessions. And the coach works on, say, there will be days when young players, especially because I'm already played for so many years, so I know how to switch on and how to motivate. But the young girls, like say 16, 17-year-olds, who've just bursted into international cricket, for them this period can develop anxiety issues, or they might be worrying about what would happen in future, what would happen to my cricketing career. So I think the coach is there to help them with those kind of issues, to give them assurance that at some point things will get okay. It is to give them that optimistic outlook that, okay, we are going to have camps, we will work like this. So giving them small goals weekly, so that there is something that the young girls can work towards.
Apart from the coaches, I'm sure, since you're also there, you also are a huge pillar of support to the younger players and to the fresh players as well, who come in, who are also part of the team, and you help keep everything together. So with times like this, how do you manage, like what are the things that really, let's say, what are the things that really annoy you when amongst the team members, like get it together? What are the things that really frustrate you?
Well, in the current situation, I think everything annoys everybody. Everybody get irritable. It is very natural because we are all confined to the house day in, day out. I see my parents, which for years couldn't see them. But my mother is like, enough. 1 month I've seen you every day. Now it's time for you to go out of the house. Go somewhere, go play and come. She's tired of seeing my face.
So, where are you right now? Which part of the country are you in right now? You're in Rajasthan, right?
No. I'm in Hyderabad. I'm a Hyderabadi. I'm based in Hyderabad.
Oh, okay. And you've always been in Hyderabad?
Yes. I was born in Jodhpur because his last posting was in Jodhpur.
Okay. Yeah. So for how long were you in Jodhpur, and then how long since have you been in Hyderabad?
We were there for a year, I think, after my birth, and then dad left Air Force. He joined a bank, so we were back in Hyderabad. Hyderabad is our base.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, I was there recently, sometime I think in December, for a gig at one of the clubs. So Hyderabad is a great party culture. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is.
A lot, or you prefer
Sorry?
to? I said, do you go out partying in Hyderabad a lot, or do you prefer to stay home with your friends?
No, I think I don't go out partying in Hyderabad, but leaving Hyderabad, if I'm out of city, then I go partying, because I wouldn't want people to see me partying like crazy in Hyderabad and then find somebody taking picture and putting it on the coming out in the newspaper on that. So
I get that. No, that's really cool. So so since you say you watch a lot of, huh?
Sorry?
Oh, she's frozen. Okay. No, I'm saying your picture froze there for a bit. So in the past few weeks, months, from what all you've been watching, apart from Shanara, what 3 films that would you recommend that viewers should watch that you really like?
I've not really watched movies as such.
Okay, see. Whatever you've watched in the past,
I the BBC series Luther on Netflix.
Oh,
yeah, and The Crown is also very nice. It's a very nice, interesting thing to get at least a glimpse of how the lifestyle of the Queen is back in England. And I think I even like a bit of this periodic films where it takes you back in the 18th century and gives you a different look rather than seeing a lot of movies of the current era. But
quite a few of those being made.
I think I don't, as I said, I'm not or a music person, but I love to watch things which at least keeps me thinking in terms of how the lifestyle would be, or what if the same characters exist in today's time, what would they be doing? Or if we existed in that time, what would I be doing? So, I mean, if there's something constantly you're thinking about the situations and scenarios and wondering how things would be very different.
No, sure, absolutely. I mean, you would have seen The Witcher by now, right?
Witcher, I started two episodes. Yes, I started, but usually what happens is the first couple of episodes they're just introducing you into the storyline. So after that, I didn't really catch up on that.
Yeah, no, I think these days the way they structure series is they get into the story from from the first episode itself, and they build up such an interest, and they build the characters as they go along as well also, because they realize, I think, rather than building up a story,
I think
waiting for the viewer to get into the story before they get to the characters, let's just throw them into the story first.
The series Carnival Row, I think it's on Prime Video. That's also a very nice
Yes,
series.
For that as well also. Carnival Row, fabulous. Orlando Bloom and
it's very, yeah, correct.
Oh, Cara Delevingne, I'm telling you. Yes, excellent. Oh, great. Thank you very much. And I hope that the viewers will listen to this conversation and hear Mithali Raj's word and take it to heart and take it to life, because you will never hear more inspiring words from Mithali right here, right now. Thank you very much, Mithali. And
thank you.
I hope to see you at one of my gigs when I'm in Hyderabad sometime soon.
Yes, I will just get in touch when you're in Hyderabad.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. This has been the Economic Times Listening Sessions with me, Luke Kenny. See you at the next listening session. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The Economic Times Listening Sessions with Luke Kenny, powered by Jack Daniels Merchandise.